Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. I'm very excited to have catch up with Dan Kuschell. He is a husband, a dad, an entrepreneur, an angel investor, and he helps business owners like you connect the dots, see those blind spots that we miss a lot of times and get unstuck by helping you get more clients. Implement and grow with less stress so you can have bigger impact, reach, and contribute. With over 25 years of business experience, he started 11 plus companies, coached over 5,000 business owners, and in many industries, over 180 in 11 countries, and has had clients like Joe Polish, who I love and adore. Obviously, who doesn't know Dean Graziosi, the Genius Network, and more. He's bought and sold multiple companies. He's a regular media contributor, hosts his own radio show, and has been a guest featured on multiple TV, radio, print, and online publications like ESPN, NBC, Speed, Thrive, Huffington Post, and so many more. He was recently rated one of the top 25 influencers by Influencive, and his podcast was recommended by Ultra Lean Business in Forbes. Dan, thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Bernardo. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And very excited to for you to share some ideas and look at kind of your expertise. We met a little while ago, but we got many mutual friends, and I had heard many great things about you. But because I will be sharing this on the podcast as well, can you share with you a little bit more of your early years and kind of, how you got into doing what you do now? Were you a good student at school? Was this marketing something you wanted to do at the age of 3? I don't know. Tell me.
Well, I was a sports fanatic, quite frankly, Bernardo. My dream as a kid was to play pro baseball. And, thankfully, my dad introduced me to personal development when I was 10. I went to my first seminar clinic when I was 10 years old at Eastern Michigan University in Ypsilanti, Michigan. And it was all coaches except me. And I got fascinated with personal development. I could picture the booklet, this binder they gave us in one of the pages. For me, it was one of the most important. It said PMA equals success. And what that stood for is positive mental attitude. It said that success in baseball and in life is 90% mental and 10% physical, right? And that just has stuck with me. And then fast forward through my, high school, college, I played college ball. And during my summertime, my sister had gotten me a job, Bernardo, in this direct marketing company that did direct mail, radio, and TV in the health club industry. And I fell in love with it, like the idea of human psychology at the end of the day, why people would buy stuff like sight unseen, easily and quickly. And I started studying, and that was at the time I got introduced to people like Tony Robbins, Tom Hopkins, Zig Ziglar, and Brian Tracy, and many more, and started studying and just took a deep dive. And then I came through college. Baseball didn't quite work out. At the end of the day, I just wasn't good enough, I guess. I had a bunch of injuries too. And what happened is I started my very first company in 1992 after my 4th year of college. And since that time, I've had 11 companies, and some failure, some success. We'll talk about more of that through the webinar. But it started with this fascination of human psyche, human behavior, why people do what they do versus not. Yeah.
Sorry, you were sharing with me, as you pointed out, obviously, that you've been an entrepreneur for quite some time. And what got you into entrepreneurship, and what were one of the things that excited you? Because obviously, as we know, being an entrepreneur can be a very lonely place, many dark moments, and things that we thought worked all of a sudden, oops, don't work anymore. So what got you into becoming an entrepreneur?
Truthfully, it was watching my dad as a kid. We grew up in the inner city of Detroit, and my dad worked for the largest auto manufacturer in the world at the time. And what ended up happening is he got laid off about 9-10 times. There were times that we went on welfare, and there's nothing more embarrassing than walking through a grocery store aisle with food stamps as a 10-year-old and having people laugh at you. And I hated that feeling. And, then I watched my dad start his very first business and, struggle. And, he was a good guy, good person, but he didn't know how to run a business, and he let everybody get credit terms with his business. He started his first business. It was a restaurant bar. He had things going, and then some unfortunate things happened. Again, he just didn't know how to run a business and protect himself. And that business went under and we went on welfare again. And then, he got back with this large auto manufacturer for a couple of years, regrouped a little bit, started another business because he realized he wanted to get control of his own future. And that one didn't work. I was 13 years old. I got a chance to work in the business with him and really deeply observe what he did and what I observed that he did well, what he didn't do well. And I also, it was at a time he had a printing company called International Minuteman. And it was like, this is back in the 80s. And, there wasn't computerized stuff. So we were doing typesetting and, advertising pieces manually and cutting them out and shooting graphics on these big giant cameras about half the size of this room and then cutting them out. And I got fascinated by this, but that business didn't work out for similar reasons. My dad just didn't know how to run a business. He didn't know how to get clients. And what did that mean for us as a family? We lost everything. My dad went through bankruptcy. There were times where, we had to borrow money from my uncle to pay the bills. It was, again, very humiliating and humbling. And for me, it was part of the drive for me that I'm going to do things different. I'm going to look at it. And for me, it was, I wanted to take care of my dad. Because my dad, to this day, he's my hero. He's my best friend. And, I would do anything to help him. And that's kind of what sprung when sports didn't work out. Business was the next option. Yep.
For you, Dan, what age was it that you got into business? And I know you're going to be teaching us and talking about. I kind of want to re-emphasize kind of what your dad went through, which was a lot my own personal circumstances of. Well, I didn't have a dad around, but I mean, for me, it was about not really having the knowledge or the experience. I went in and I did do quite a lot of businesses that didn't really work out. What age did you get into your first business, and what was it?
Well, I had a paper route, so that was kind of a business. And I was 13. I partnered with a friend of mine, and we would run through neighborhoods and sell these newspapers, basically door to door. And then my first official business that actually became my first 7-figure business was when I was 22 years old, and that was all the way back in 1992. Yeah.
Well, that's how old were you then?
22 years old.
22. Okay, great, cool. Well, that's an early start. I think I started more or less the same. 21, 22. I started my first real estate. So Dan, with a lot of the things that you've learned, obviously, there's a number of things that you've succeeded in or you've flourished in, which is obviously communication and engaging with people and obviously marketing. And for me, I've always loved marketing and selling, and there's obviously a science to it, and there's a lot of things that you need to do in order to connect, and I think it's even more challenging now with everything that we've got going on, where there's so many emails coming out, there's so many people trying to do things and so much noise out there. And I know you're going to do a presentation for us, which is kind of, the reason I wanted to have you here is because I've been insisting on the invites and the people that are going to be watching the recording here today. It is about providing, skills and providing people with tools for them to be able to implement. But what does it take to stand out now or to succeed in the industry or whatever industry as an entrepreneur?
Well, we'll certainly go deeper because it's a deep question. There's no magic. First of all, there's no magic button for it. There's no tactic for it. It's principle based. It's also focusing on relationship capital versus any other capital, right? I think the old mindset, the old way of looking at business is what gets a lot of people in trouble. And there's so many experts, so many pseudo experts that what worked 10 years ago isn't working today. In fact, what worked 3 months ago isn't even working today. And it requires a new set of operating skills, a new way to be thinking about things. So for example, if you're in a transactional business, you might as well pack up and go home, right? That way of operating is just not going to be existent for the short term or the long term. However, relationship or transformation is really where it's at. Like if you're a speaker right now, if you're an author, if you're an expert, you're on stages or what have you, and you're looking for a way to stand out, one of the easiest ways is to focus on adding value to others before you ever ask or expect them to do something. And that's the simple. People ask me all the time, how have I had all these amazing partnerships and had clients like I've had that are pretty high profile, big name, a lot I don't even name because of NDAs and stuff, it's because of finding ways to add value first. You know, like if you ask my 12-year-old son and my 14-year-old daughter, like, how do you make money? Which we got from Joe Polish. I love this framework. It's value creation and transformation. And that's not only how to make money, that's how to actually live a great life. Value creation and transformation, right? Is always finding ways to add that value, bring value first. And it may not serve us in the short run, but over time, either directly or indirectly, the strategic byproduct, our relationship is a direct strategic byproduct from, someone who I love and adore, Gail Kingsbury, who I've known for 15 years. She got us connected, and it was because of adding some value to her in advance. And then she was like, oh, well, here's somebody you need to meet, which was you, right? And that's just a simple, small example of it. But if I were to say, how do you stand out? Don't try to do it tactically or focus on the transactional tactic to do it or the magic button to do it. But it's become a giver, come from generosity, come from contribution, come from value creation and transformation, help people get their breakthrough. What do they want? Zig Ziglar's famous for a quote, Bernardo. He says, if you help enough other people get what you want, you'll never have to worry about what you want. And what's fascinating about that is there's a truth to it, but there's also a lie to that statement that most people don't stop and think about. And a friend of mine brought this to my attention years ago, Martin Howie, and he said, if you give to the wrong person, no matter how much you give and add value, or the wrong market or the wrong people, right, you're going to have the bad results because you're serving the wrong people. You got to serve the right people. You're a perfect client. We call this the part of our perfect client system, is about identifying who is your perfect client and go out of your way to add value in advance. And you never have to want for what you want if you do that the right way.
Brilliant, Dan. So what is it you wanted to share today? I'm actually doing a number of webinars in the coming weeks, and we've been trying to advise people on how to transition quickly. I think a lot of the things that I'm identifying and finding. Well, first of all, I think we shared it last time, and I've been sharing it as well. There's a lot of people just trying to help and trying to contribute and trying to do things, and quite rightly, everyone needs to communicate, because right now everyone's at home. No one can be speaking at an event. No one can actually engage and communicate. So people are obviously using the online platforms trying to reach. So people that, and I've been seeing some people that aren't necessarily seminar promoters now trying to promote events online. And you can see it's just not their thing, just because, hey, promoting a live event is difficult enough. Trying to promote an online event doesn't make it that, are you using the right technology? Do you have the right people? Are you marketing it the right way? But I feel that a lot of people don't necessarily know what to do, and not only don't know what to do, they're not probably getting the right advice. And I'm really I'm personally spending a lot of time in learning and really learning new things and new strategies and implementing and changing a lot of what my reality was, which was live events. We've obviously we did have a lot in line, with the online platform, a lot of the content we had, we were already transitioning, but we've had to really pivot very quickly and move very quickly. So what are the things that you're going to be sharing here today that can help people, and for those of you that are watching this recording, we're going to have all the details from Dan as well for you guys to reach out if you're going to be missing out on some of the things he's going to be sharing here today live. So what are you going to be sharing with us today, Dan?
Well, real simple. It's 3 steps to pivot and prosper in turbulent times, right? And how to create and get your perfect client system in place, right? Because there's nothing worse, right? If you've ever felt like you're like the world's best kept secret, or maybe deep inside yourself, you've said, God, I wish if people only knew what I could do for them, right? But you're struggling to get those thems to know who you are or work with them. Or maybe you felt like, you have so much to offer, but, just for whatever reason, sales are, sprinkled few and far between. Or maybe you're actually doing pretty well. Maybe you're crushing it right now, but you've hit a plateau and you want to just know, how do you navigate like these tough times? That's what we're going to cover today. We've got several examples, case studies. In fact, if I were you, I would grab a pen right now. I'd grab a piece of paper. The way that I go about presenting is actually more of kind of like a workshop style. And what you should know is this is going to come at you really fast. And the beauty is, I believe Bernardo's making this available to you, so you can actually come back and rewind and catch it again. So I apologize in advance if I go really, really fast through a lot of great, what we believe to be some transformational information. If you're a speaker, if you're an author, if you're a founder, a CEO, if you're looking to, grow your clients, to get new clients, starting like today, like by the time we're done, I want you to feel confident you can go out and put an approach in place. We're going to introduce you to a couple models that we're using right now that I'll just share with you. And ideally you can get those in place. We're going to show you a way to differentiate yourself. We're going to show you how to stand out from the crowd with this transformational methodology, and a whole lot more. Yeah.
Sorry, I said the floor is yours, Dan. Go ahead.
All right, let me go ahead and share my screen here, and we'll walk you through this. So there'll be a little bit of some background here that will pop up for a second till my notes come up. And I also do things a little bit different. I literally hand wrote most of this presentation. So what we're going to cover today are the 3 steps to pivot and prosper in turbulent times. I want to get into the first teaching point right now. Now you might be wondering, like, why is there a domino on the screen, right? Why is there a domino? And you want to write some of this down. We're going to focus one domino at a time. What's first? What's next? See, here's the deal about dominoes, and you know this, right? You probably want to write this down. One domino going in the right pattern can tip over 1,000 dominoes. One domino can tilt over 1,000, done right? One domino can solve 100 problems, even 1,000 problems, if you focus on the right one domino. You probably want to write that down. Focus on one domino at a time. Number 2 is this. There's a big difference as you look at dominoes, like which of these dominoes are the, call them the gold coins versus the silver coins versus bronze coins, right? Everything has differing value, right? If you've ever found yourself, God, I'm so busy, and not growing at the rate you want with less stress, right? There's a problem. So you want to focus on gold coin. Ideally, from our presentation today, you're going to walk out with the focus of the one domino at a time that are your gold coins. Here's another thing that we found from successful people, and I hope you're okay if I start teaching like right away, is your not to-do list is way more important than your to-do list, especially if you're playing a big game. So with that in mind, we're going to walk you through the 3 steps to pivot and prosper in turbulent times and how to get your perfect client system in place today. Now, why is this important to you, right? We're in a place of uncertainty right now. The world's changed. Like somebody going, I'm waiting for that back to normal. There's not a back to normal. There's only a new normal, right? And the sooner we make the pivots, the better. We're in turbulent times. And at the end of the day, if you don't shift to these new times, this new normal, what's it going to cost you? Think about that. I shared already a little bit about, my dad and my situation as a kid. And we know what it cost me and our family, right? In fact, I want to share, a little bit deeper about this story with my dad, because you might be able to relate with it. When I was 10, I watched my dad's first business, his restaurant, fail, like right in front of my eyes and in my living room, from having attorneys in our thing because we had to declare bankruptcy. We ended up on welfare, right? And to make matters even worse, electricity got shut off. We couldn't afford my mom's medical bills, which were, high 5 figures approaching 6 figures. Because of the restaurant and where we were in the inner city of Detroit, we actually had a gang threaten to blow up our house and my dad's restaurant and bar. We had to borrow money from my uncle just to pay our basic bills so we could survive. Like, number one, for me as a kid experiencing this, like the pressure and the humiliation walking through a grocery store aisle. And then on top of that, my dad's pressure of having a family, 2 kids, which my sister is younger than me by 2 years, and my mom, who had all these major health challenges going on. The pressure of like trying to be the man of the house, right? And it was these lessons that taught me some things that were really probably invaluable about looking at things. And then the other thing is it got worse, as I shared with Bernardo just a few minutes ago, because about 3 years later, my dad went at it again, and he had this printing company going. And unfortunately, a lot of things repeated themselves. He struggled to get clients. He was highly stressed all the time, overstressed, burnout, confused, right? He found himself in a place where he struggled to get consistent clients every day. And so a couple things to be thinking about, right? For you, like if you've ever been through that, you can probably understand. If you haven't, it's hard to appreciate. I knew for me, as I shared with Bernardo a few minutes ago, I didn't want this to be my journey, following my dad. So what did I do? I wanted to do things different because I wanted it to be different for my kids. And so there I was in 1992 running my first business. We were out of the gate. And you know what? We got a great client started and we started crushing it. We did 7 figures in about 6.5 months. But about a year later, I was on the verge of bankruptcy. Why? The truth was, we knew how to get clients, really good at that. I was not really good at running a business. And there's a big difference between being a technician. You probably want to write this one down. Big difference between being a technician. If you're a speaker right now, if you're an expert, if you're an author, you have products and services. There's a big difference between being the creator of that and being the owner and the person who runs the business to move those items or get clients, right? Big difference. And it was in that moment, right? Where I was humbled again, personally now on the verge of bankruptcy. My house was behind, my car payments were behind. I remember attending an event about a year out of this, where I shut that business down, Bernardo, and I came out of it and I went to an event that was a business opportunity. And I remember being there and they said, hey, do you want to get started? I said, I'd love to get started, but I can't afford it. And he said, how old are you? And I was in my 20s at the time. I was 23 and a half. He said, you're 23 plus years. You've been working like since you were about 18 years old, 5 years, and you don't have like a few $1,000s to do whatever you want, whenever you want. That's no way to go through life. And he said, you know what? It's not your fault, Dan. You're not alone. He said, I talk to 30-year-olds, I talk to 40-year-olds, I talk to 50-year-olds, I talk to 60-year-olds and 70-year-olds who are in the same boat. Because the truth is, the average person has only about $400 disposable income, according to the SBA report that just came out a few months ago. $400 to their name to do whatever they want. That's no way to go through life. And this guy, Carl, said to me, if you can't afford it, you can't afford not to. So I made a choice back then to attend an event, and that transformed my life. And then fast forward a few businesses over time, I knew I needed to pivot, right? So I'd never put my family in that situation again. So I'd never have business partners, because essentially I take full responsibility for choosing the wrong business partner and not knowing how to run a business. But I had a business partner, he emptied the account and left me in a bad spot. Plus I didn't want to have to, have clients that I didn't enjoy. Like if you've ever been there, like in that business, we were taking clients just because we knew it could pay the bills versus because they were a right fit, right? And so that I'd have a business that consisted of perfect clients that allowed us to generate multiple streams of revenue and did it without stress that weighed on me every single day, right? And the big thing we needed to do, I needed to pivot, right? And so here's what I did next, right? Fast forward, I started a business on my terms, and I started in the beginning with one person out of my den who was a volunteer. And we grew that company to over 175 employees. We helped over 100,000, actually 200,000 people who purchased our training, education, resources. We had more than 1 million people actually access our educational resources that were free online. We had over 2 million subscribers, in fact. I moved my family actually to Arizona and got the gift to be able to help take care of them, and still am today. And we live close and have amazing things. I've had private conversations with Richard Branson on a boat and hanging out on Necker Island and all kinds of amazing, cool things. And today I get to help people like you. If you're a speaker, if you're an author, you want to get your message out. Maybe I've got something bigger deep inside, right? We've been able to help people from over 11 countries grow their sales, get more new clients, do it with less stress. And it's a lot of fun. It's a blast with what we're able to do. So you might ask, well, who are you? So, not to go onto a long rant about this, I'm the founder of a company called Breakthrough 3X. I built actually total now 11 companies. I bought and sold multiple companies, which is a lot of fun. And we help companies get more new clients, be able to grow with less stress. And it's a lot of fun. And many times grow 2, 3, 5, 10 times. I've been blessed to have clients like this and still do. The guy on the left, upper left, is the guy who founded ESPN, Bill Rasmussen. I was lucky enough to be, considered a coach, a mentor with him, and we've had a great relationship since. Dean Graziosi was a client. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. Joe Polish from Genius Network, Vern Harnish and Daniel Marcos, who are partners in a company called Growth Institute, Janet Atwood, and many, many more. And a couple key things we found is, when you can solve the puzzle of getting new clients, implementing and growing with less stress, it creates a lot of freedom. And I want to introduce you to some of those freedom principles and why I'm excited that you're here with us today. And here's my promise. I'm going to teach you what I've learned over these last 25 plus years, what worked, what didn't. I'm going to ideally help you avoid some of the common struggles and save you some of my costly mistakes. You're going to learn the 3 steps to pivot and prosper. Core principle number 1 is assess and blank to stimulate blank. We'll get into those in a second. Core principle number 2, build a blank and LTRV to get more new clients. Core principle number 3, I'm going to introduce you to 3 models to get more clients in less than 30 days. Now, I want to speak to the elephant in the room. You might be saying, will this work for me? Hold that thought for a second. At the end of the day, we want to introduce you to the ideas of what is the perfect client system for you. Because it's not a one size fits all. That's the other thing to know. A lot of these experts, they go, oh, we've got the one size fits all model. You should run away as fast as you can from them, right? Today's business model is about personalization, customization, at the end of the day, implementation. In fact, write this down, ROI, it's not what you think. ROI, return on implementation. You need a new idea like you need a hole in your head. If you agree with that, type yes in the chat window right now, please. If you agree with that, type yes in the chat window, right? Return on implementation. You don't need new ideas, you need to implement. Who does this work for? Thanks, Eric. Who does this work for? CEOs, consultants, franchise owners, chiropractors, coaches, tech company owners, agency owners, associations, speakers, financial advisors, influencers, entrepreneurs. I'll stop there. It applies to any. In fact, I haven't really run across many it hasn't worked for. We've worked in over 180 industries in over 11 plus countries. Here's the big problem. You're probably going to want to write a couple of these stats down. Just like my dad twice, me once, being on the verge of bankruptcy, there are 3 reasons businesses fail. This is from the SBA. Really critical to know these, right? The stats show this. 42% of businesses fail because of no marketing plan. No marketing plan. Let me ask you real quick. When's the last time you updated your marketing plan? Not a business plan, but a marketing plan. When's the last time you updated? See, if it hadn't been updated in the last 45 days at the time we're doing this, you're behind the times. That old way is not working. It's time to update it. Now, you might even go, I don't even know what a marketing plan is. We're going to solve that for you today, right? We're going to solve that for you today. We've got a tool that we created that takes you about 30 minutes to fill out. You don't need a 4-day seminar. You don't need a 2-month program. You need about 20 minutes of good thinking behind it. It's a marketing plan blueprint. We'll talk about that and how to get it. Or the wrong one. The wrong one will also put you in jeopardy. In other words, if you had one that was current 90 days ago, you probably need to update it today to stay ahead of the curve, be cutting edge, be innovative, be adaptive. Number 2, 33% of businesses fail due to cash flow issues, right? What causes cash flow issues? Not enough new clients daily. Here's a question I'd ask you to assess really quick. How many new clients are you bringing in every single day? If you're not bringing in at least a client a day, is your program at a level 10 or level 1? 1 being lowest, 10 being highest. Not enough clients. 33% fail due to cash flow issues, right? Next, approximately 21% fail due to the wrong people, right? I don't know if you're like me, but I've actually hired over 1,000 people in my companies, most of which have been sales reps in our companies, with that multiple companies over time. Have you ever hired a skunk? Right? You know what I'm talking about, right? Not only an internal team member, but an outsourced team. Have you hired a skunk there too? Have you ever hired like a professional agency who was supposed to be your solution and answer, and you found out they skunked worse than like the part-time person who, you had working for you? There's nothing more frustrating than that. And at the end of the day, if you fail for any of these 3 reasons, what happens to you and your family? Right? Think about that. I know for me, as a kid at 10, at 13, truly, I was permanently scarred. Like one of my biggest drivers, which Bernardo asked a little bit ago, is I don't want to fall back. I don't want to have my kids experience what I had to experience. There's a better way, right? And if you're a parent, you probably know what that means. If you're going to have kids, you probably want to get ahead of that curve, to give them a better life. I mean, that's what, in many ways, being a great parent is. It's also what being a great coach is all about. So number 1, let's dive into core principle number 1. Which is the 3x growth and get your perfect client system in place. That which is measured improves. That which is measured and reported improves exponentially, according to to Pearson's law. Pearson's law. That which is measured improved, that which is measured and reported improves exponentially. What are you measuring every day? Think about that. Are you really measuring things every day? See, you have to assess to measure, to improve, and grow. You have to assess and measure daily to improve and grow. Now, the problem, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. This according to Peter Drucker, right? See, if you're not measuring, how can you improve it? It's like throwing, so you ever felt like you're throwing spaghetti at a wall or you're drawing straws in what your business strategy is? Peter Drucker is the founder. In fact, if you don't know who Peter is, the founder of Modern Management, and he was instrumental on the importance of marketing in business. And in fact, suggesting that marketing, the function of business is to do better marketing, right? Here's the problem. If you're a speaker, if you're a founder, a CEO, or any of these categories we've been talking about, is that you get busy day to day, don't you? Right? You're wearing 12 hats, right? You might be saying to yourself, who has time? Maybe you feel in the dark or in limbo or stuck, right? It's sometimes tough where you feel like you can't make good decisions because you don't have the right things. And at the end of the day, a lot of us, it's worse because we've been lied to. Have you heard some of these experts rolling around going, oh, you've got to go do 60 to 70 social media posts a day to stay relevant, to stand out from the crowd? That's nonsense. Bull nonsense. That's what it is. You know what I'm going to say. If you want to say it for me, put it in the chat room. If you agree that these experts who are teaching you how to go out and be massively active and not productive is a joke. And it's a shame to watch good, hardworking people like you. And I've been there. You know why? Because I followed their strategies for a while. Because I thought, oh, they had this pedestal and they're apparently doing incredibly well. What I found out is that was a bunch of BS. It was nonsense. Have you found that too? Right? Again, you can fill in the real word of BS and what it means. Balderdash, right? Balderdash. And the fact is, in many ways, a lot of the things that a lot of us are doing, it's not our fault because we've been following these perceived leaders who give us this guidance and wisdom. So why is this important to you now? Right? It's to give you clarity, to give you confidence, certainty, so we can free you up. I mean, like, what would it be worth to you to get out of the day-to-day of your business? To have the ability to have better decisions, being able to be made, right? Now, over here on my board, we have a board that tracks things every single day. When I had my big giant company, before I was able to sell that $20 million a year business, we had a big board, and our main sales reps, which there were about 75, we had a big giant whiteboard on the side of the wall, and every rep to the minute was reporting how many presentations they made, how many enrollments they did, and how much revenue by the minute. What do you think that does to performance when you have that kind of look at it? Boosts it. It boosts it because it can't help. Again, everything measured improves. Everything measured and publicly reported improves exponentially. So what could you take out of that? Like, what could you take out of that? Well, I don't want to leave it to chance. I'm going to give you a couple steps that you can take with that. Here are some keys to measuring properly and assessing. Assess and measure. You want to do this daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually. Now, where did I learn this? I learned this from sports. From the time I can remember being like 5, I was playing competitive sports, and statistics mean a lot in every sport today. Think about that. That's how many of the top athletes get paid, is based on their statistics. In other words, their performance. It's meritocracy and business at its finest. Perform or go home, right? Are you putting yourself to that same standard like a high performance, world-class athlete? Right? Don't be afraid of this stuff. Embrace this stuff, right? The beauty of business, it's not about your batting average. It's the fact of whether you're just going to stay in it for the long term at the end of the day, right? But apply sports to business. Key measurement items. Here's a couple, 3 quick ones. And if you want to type them in the chat, I'd love to see you type it in the chat. But if you feel a little reserved, I get that too. I've been there, right? Again, but everything measured and reported grows exponentially. So you decide whether you want exponential growth or just you want to hold on to it. So first, rate your sales system right now. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being highest, 1 being lowest, rate your business sales system internally this moment. 1 low, 10 high. Write it down. If you want to put it in the chat, put it in the chat. Please do. On a scale of 1 to 10, thanks, Eric. I appreciate your transparency, brother. Marketing system, 1 to 10. How would you rate your marketing system? 1 to 10. 1 lowest, 10 highest. Marketing system. Next, what's your hiring system today? Eric, 7 on marketing. Awesome. Hiring. How would you rate your hiring system? 1 to 10, right? Where are you? Now, the key is once you know where you are, now we go, what's missing? It's Socratic. See, if you just put attention, you've heard this before. The top personal development experts in the world teach us what you put attention to expands, doesn't it? right? What you put attention and implementation behind expands exponentially. That's a term we came up with, a framework we came. Think about what you put attention to expands, what you put attention to and implement expands exponentially. Think about that. There's real power behind that. The fatal flaw of the law of attraction is the missing link is implementation. So here's a question I want you to write down. What do I have to do to get closer to a 10 right now? Write the first couple of things that come to mind. In fact, if you want to type in the chat window again, share it. You will find that if you are willing to play full out, it makes a big difference. How you do anything, according to T. Harv Eker, how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So what has to happen to get each of those to a 10? What, make one mental note at least. You can come back to it, right? Now, what's it costing you if you're not up leveling? It's the COI versus ROI. So I want you to think about it. What's it costing you if your marketing system is at a 6, your sales system is at a 7, your hiring is at a 4, or whatever it is for you? Estimate for your sales, how much is it costing you per month, thousands of dollars? How many thousands of dollars is it costing you right now per month by it not being closer to a 10? Make up the number that works for you. For some of you, this might be 1,000. For some of you, it might be 1,000,000. And some of you, it'll be in the middle. How about your marketing system? How much per month is it costing you not having a great marketing system per month financially? What would you estimate if it's not at a level 10? And then if your hiring system is at a level 10, how much is it financially costing you? Now, whatever you come up with, and I don't see anything in the chat window, but a number we frequently see in presentations like this is about 20,000 if you add all three of those numbers. So if you look at 20,000, the cost of inaction, like what moves people, in many cases, is the loss that you have and then putting perspective on it. So we really want to tune into this. So if you're at 20,000 a month, and again, depending on your business, that might be higher, it might be lower. So you fill in your number. But if it's 20,000 a month times 12 months, it's costing you 240 grand a year. How long do you want it to continue to be that way? At the end of the day, how long do you want it to be that way? On the other hand, we call this ROI cubed. Gives you ROI cubed. You want to triple your business, which is pretty common when we work with our clients. There's 3 factors, and it's this ROI method we're talking about right now, but it's not exactly what you think. The first ROI is return on investment. Everything you do should have a return on investment. Next, return on interaction. Many times we don't measure the return on interaction from something because they're a strategic byproduct. Number 3 is return on implementation, which I would suggest is probably the most powerful and most important for you and for me. Think about that. What does it cost you not implementing more of your great ideas? How many thousands a month is that costing you? Right? So if you want to grow up, first of all, grow to that next level. You want to up level your business. No matter where you're at today, the beauty is it helps to have a good reference point, which you've got. Now, what has to happen for you to up level? What are those things? And action precedes the miracle. You know that. Oh, hit the wrong button. Hold on one second. Let me get rid of this. All right, here we go. So other key measurements daily. Calls inbound and outbound, right? This was something we had on the board that we talked about. These are key critical. Now, there's a lot more numbers that we track, but I want to give you, if you're brand new today, I want to give you these. If you're running a 20 million a year business, which we were, these were the key numbers we measured every single day, and it made a huge difference, exponential difference. So if they're good enough for that, I hope it's good enough for you. The number of presentations, right? See, if you're doing 10 presentations a week and Bob is doing 10 presentations a day, whose chances of making more sales, making a bigger impact, having a bigger reach, having a bigger contribution? Probably Bob, right? So if you up your presentations, think about how it ups your game. How many enrollments per day, right? If you're a business owner, if you track this, you're probably going to get tired of seeing zeros on there at some point. You're going to start focusing on what's it going to take to get to 1, 2 if you're at 0. But if you're at 5, what's it going to take to get to 10? You start moving this up. I was on a call with one of our private clients just a little bit ago. They've got 80 people registered for this multi-$1,000 event coming up next week. And the reality is they're shooting to get another 20 plus members in 2 weeks for this live event they're hosting, right? Which is pretty neat. So how many enrollments? How much revenue, right? Again, we do this daily and in real time. Next, other key measurement. What's your cost per lead? And what's your cost per customer or client? What's your cost per client? I can't tell you, when we go work with private clients, even the biggest names, I'm not going to mention them though, you'd be shocked when we ask them, like, how much, what does it cost for you to go to acquire a client? What's the cost to get that client? You know how many of our clients say, I don't know exactly? Almost all of them. The biggest names in the world as well, even though they might even talk about, oh, you know, focus on God. It's shocking to me how many of them don't really know. It's shocking. So by the way, if you're going, oh my God, there's so much coming at me, so there's so much here. I get it. The beauty is you can rewind this and come back, right? You're going to love these next couple steps coming. And by the way, if you have questions at the end, we're going to do a Q&A here. I promise, Bernardo, I was here to deliver full out. I want to offer as much value as we can in the time we've got available together. So I'm going to offer up Q&A. So if you've got questions, here's what I want to recommend. Write those questions on your sheet of paper as we go. I may answer most of them by the time we get done, but if we don't, I'm happy to have you share those and we'll do our best to address as many as we can. Is that fair enough? Now, cost per client. And again, if you don't know these today, the key is when is now, I tell this to my 12-year-old, we do a lot of football practice together. When is now the best time for your training? Right now, right? Right now is. So when is now the best time for you to start getting these in place if you don't have them in place? Next, other items, the long-term value of your clients. We're going to introduce you to another framework on this in a few minutes that I think you're going to love. But long-term value, do you know the long-term value of your clients? You'll understand in a few minutes why this is so critical. Do you know the enrollment percentage of how many presentations to how many enrollments you get? Again, critical numbers that can make a huge difference if you're the owner of your business and not a technician in it, right? The technician side fights this. The owner, the founder, the CEO type, the entrepreneur goes, bring it on. I want to do a lot more of this, right? Big picture measurement is the payroll percentage to revenue. Now, this is more of an advanced strategy that I want to reveal to you, because if you're running a business doing 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, and you can avoid the mistake that I made when I was new, I want to share it with you. This number is magic. Payroll percentage to your total revenue. If you can get in a sweet spot where your payroll percentage, including what you pay yourself, is 25% or less, your ability to have a sustainable long-term business is magic. And I know it doesn't apply 100% to every single industry because of cost of goods and expenses for goods and all these different sorts of things. But in most industries, 90+% industries, this 25% or less number, payroll percentage to revenue, is magical to have a very sustainable, profitable, long-term business, right? The other number to look at, I'm going to bypass this one just for sake of time. And actually, I'm not. It's the old number of this is revenue per team member. And I would go one step further for you. Again, and a little more advanced strategy is profit per team member. Here's the magic number we found in most industries, about 90% of industries. If the revenue per team member is over 300,000 and the profit per team member is over 100,000 or more, again, you're in a place in the top 5% of businesses. Is that what you want? See, if you want to strive for, what's a Jim Collins quote? It says, the enemy of excellence is mediocrity, right? I want to challenge you to look at this framework to go, what do you have to do to get to a place where your payroll percentage is 25% or less of revenue so you can be sustainable long-term, you can create more jobs, you can make a bigger difference, you can have a bigger impact. Is that what you want? If that's what you want, by the way, type yes in here, right? On the other hand, another superpower number, 300,000 revenue per team member. This includes contractors. Thanks, Charles. This includes team members that are contractors, independent, freelancers, and more. And you just compartmentalize them and combine hours to get to 40 equals one unit, one team member. 40 hours equals one team. So you might have 5 team members in today's world that make up one, right? These numbers hold true. Again, these are a little bit more advanced, and there's more numbers, but these are the most critical we found in our business overall. I'm going to introduce you to, now, by the way, are you learning some good stuff here? If you're learning some good stuff so far, can you just type a yes so I know I'm on the right track? We're just scratching the surface. Awesome, awesome. And again, stay to the very end. I want to share with you how you can get the marketing plan blueprint in your hands. I also want to share with you, open it up to Q&A for you to make this customized and personalized. So I want to share a little bit of a case study about this guy who I got a chance to work with. I got introduced to Dean, and maybe like a lot of us, and I like to kind of put this in perspective. You know, when I met Dean, first of all, he's all about solutions. Like, he never sees a problem as a problem. He sees it as an opportunity to get a solution in place. And Well, I met him, many years ago, and what had happened is his sales in one of his companies at the time had hit a plateau, a pretty significant plateau. And he had tried a bunch of stuff, maybe like you've tried a bunch. He's tried like different partners, he had different like managers, he had different team members, and it just wasn't, landing. It was just kind of staying the same, right? And a friend of mine, Jimmy, introduced me to Dean, and we had lunch across from his office at a restaurant in Tempe, Arizona called Boston's at the time. And we had a thing, and he was sharing with me how he was feeling. Like, I know I'm destined to do a lot more, but I feel stuck. And I just don't feel like we're hitting full momentum, right? And I want to really grow my sales to grow an impact, right? And so after he explained the stuff he was having trouble getting new clients, implementing more, having better accounting and trackability, assessing and measurability going on, I said, well, Dean, I think we can help you. And because most of our work is performance-based in what we do, we talked about it, and he said, yeah, let's get started. And so we did. And a few of the things we did, I have a little list here. I'm just going to read a couple really quick things, right? Because again, I want you to get perspective. Here's a guy now running a business doing close to 100 million a year or more. And he's impacted, he's had over a couple $2 billion worth of sales on his programs. And I'll turn that back on in a second. But he wanted to track more for his sales on a day-to-day basis, right? So one of the things, we got his team tracking how many enrollments, how much in revenue, how many presentations they were doing per day. And guess what it did? Created a lift. On top of that, right, he had a model, he had an offline business, and he wanted to use more of online marketing strategies. Can you relate to that? A lot of it was manual on the phone. He wanted to do more online. We started integrating it, and started measuring the performance and conversions and different simple things. And it created a lift, it created a result, and created greater growth, more new clients. On top of that, we went and we looked at his financial statements and looked at something simple that might be like, you might not expect unless you look at it and know what you're looking for. We looked at the merchant statements in his business, and we found that his merchant fees were way too high. And we got him switched over to another merchant. It saved his business and took him to exponential profits. It was a huge deal, right? And all in all, when we worked with Dean, he probably experienced a lot of the frustrations you've experienced. I know that I've experienced. We put these processes in place, and in less than 6 months, his business doubled. It also set the stage for him to be able to go sell his business, right? Think about that. And he sold that division of his business so he could then go focus on another passion project of his, which at that time, he was moving into the real estate industry, right? So if that can work for someone like Dean, like, what's your takeaway from that? In fact, what I would like to do, and even though I know most experts don't do this in a webinar, I want you to write this down. What are your action steps from what we just shared about Dean? Can you please share that with us? Write down, what are your action steps as a result of what we just covered, right? What are your action steps? Write down what's the first action you can take with measurability. What are the things that you can put in place to have greater measuring? Is it the daily presentations? Is it the number of sales? What are those different things that will move the needle for you, right? Now, on top of this, for business, this also works personally. So this picture was taken over a decade ago, but this is me. Look at that fat butt. Look at that fat guy. It's like I ate myself, right? It's like the show called Fat Bastard. Yeah, I look like I ate myself. See the difference between these two? Being down in the 160s now, consistent, is measurement. What gets measured improves. What gets measured and reported improves exponentially, right? It can work for business. It can work personally. It can work in relationships and a whole lot more, right? So your action steps, I want to challenge you with these. Measured, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually. Keep it simple, by the way, right? It doesn't need to be 100 numbers. It's like 4 or 5 key numbers, right? Make it a daily what? What do you think the answer is? Habit. Make it a daily habit. Next, if you're building a team, even if it's outsourced people, train your team on the idea of measuring and assessing all the time, right? Inspect what you expect. See, here's the key with measuring. Why did I start with one domino, right? See, you want to look for the dominoes that move the needle, the needle movers, the breakthroughs. One domino that tips over 1,000. You don't have to track everything, just track the most important numbers. Ideally, there's a few here. Now, if you learned something in this segment, if you've learned some good info here and you're committed to take action on this, can you type yes in the chat window real quick? Please type chat. Yes. Awesome, Eric. Awesome. Thank you. Charles, thank you. Awesome. What do you estimate the value if you put this in place? Right? What do you estimate the value? Put some kind of financial number. Again, this is about dominoes and value. What do you estimate the financial, either direct impact or even a strategic impact from it? If you started measuring and working this way daily, assessing your business this way, what do you estimate? You don't have to type it in the chat window, but put some kind of financial number to it. For me, over the years, this measurement concept, I would estimate has been worth tens of millions of dollars, straight up. And as simple as it sounds, don't underestimate the simplicity of just putting optics on the numbers or putting clarity on the numbers, right? So are you guys ready for principle number 2? If you're ready for principle number 2, I just want to know, are you ready? I'm ready to roll because we're going to really start going fast now, much faster. Principle number 2 is the traffic triage, how you build a campfire, and also what's called LTRV. Now, this method is critical to survive moving forward. And here's why. Here's why this is so incredibly important. See, here's what you should know. Traditional marketing is dead. That's a fact. Traditional marketing. Now, what you might go, what is traditional marketing? Traditional marketing, when I was brought up in the 1980s, early 90s, first business and moving forward, back in those days, Bernardo, you could probably relate to this too. And maybe you're of age that you can relate to this too. But back then, when we'd run an ad on TV, we'd get instant calls and instant orders. And I mean, we would get flooded with orders at times in certain campaigns, hundreds of orders with campaigns. And we knew that if we put out X dollars, we'd get Y back, and we could measure it linearly and easily. And then if we did direct mail, it was kind of the same kind of thing. And if we did radio, the same kind of thing. And magazines, the same kind of thing. But guess what happened? The internet happened. And now what happened, it's gotten a little bit more complex. And if you take that style and you're just looking for one channel to bring you revenue, you're missing 80% or more of your business. The tide lifts the boats. Let me explain what I mean. See, it's like a campfire today. The old style is like this. If I've got a fireplace over here, if you can picture the fireplace off to the side, and in the fireplace are the logs, right? And I've got a matchbook here, and I light this matchbook, and I throw the matchbook into the fireplace to catch a log on fire. It's pretty slim pickings that I'm going to catch a log on fire today that way. But that's what a lot of people are doing. One channel. Oh, I'm going to run one Facebook ad or one set of ads. Oh, if it doesn't work, oh, it doesn't work. No, it works. It will work for you, but it's not about one channel anymore. It's about having integrated channels. It's more like this approach, which is about building a campfire. What is building a campfire? If I light this piece of paper, get a flame going, get some heat, what do I do next? I get some kindling, right? I put some kindling and it starts burning, right? And I get some more kindling, put on top, it starts burning. Then I get some branches and I put some branches on here and get it burning. Then what do? Now I go grab the log and I put the log on top, and now I got a fire that'll burn for days. That's your business today. It's building a campfire. Plus, in which we hit already in the intro with Bernardo and questions, it's focusing on long-term relationship value, right? Long-term relationship. It's not enough to focus on long-term value and what the value direct is, but it's long-term relationship value, right? See, why is this so critically important? And I got to tell a quick story about my ego is not my amigo, which I heard from a guy named Bedros, and I love that framing, right? But years ago, I was at a place where I was struggling to go online. And maybe you can relate to that. I remember, I had my office, I had some team members in the office, and most of our sales were coming because of us manually grinding it out. And our guys, dialing for dollars, so to speak. I'm simplifying it to a degree, but that's at the end of the day. And I was looking at it going, okay. And I believe for over 20 years, this idea of assess and measure. And I was like, okay, what has to happen for me to double my business? That's a great question. You might want to write that one down. What has to happen to double my business in the next 6 months? And I remember doing that exercise at this time. I was sitting at my desk and I was calculating to double my business. I'm going to need to double the amount of team members I had. And I was starting to turn white. And I was like, oh, I'm getting nauseous at the feeling of anxiousness of having to hire twice as many people and having more labor costs and payroll costs. And I was like, that doesn't seem exciting to me. There's got to be a new, better way. And it was around this time I started exploring the online stuff. And so I started studying some of the top experts in the world. And so then I created an offer and I put it out there. And guess what happened? Crickets, nothing. And I was like, okay, I'll keep at it. And I put out another offer after reworking. And guess what happened? Nothing. And now I'm starting to doubt myself. Man, I see and hear everybody's having all this success online because it seemed like it was like the old wild west. Everybody seemed to be making money, but not me. And so I put out my third offer after rework. And guess what happened? Nothing. I did this 7, 8 times. So think about it. If you've tried something and put your heart and soul into it for weeks and writing and constructing and building, and you get nothing, I mean, no sales online at all, 8 straight times. 8 straight times halfway through the ninth when I get a call from a guy named Joshua. And it wasn't for what you think. What Joshua had was this newsletter. Maybe you've heard of this now because he sold it a few years back. It's called the 2 Comma Club. And at the time he owned this newsletter publication called the 2 Comma Club. And one of the things I wanted for our business, our publishing business, was a newsletter. And I was starting down the path to also create a newsletter, but he already had a newsletter and he already had pre-written like 30 or 40 editions of it. It's like, well, instead of me having to go create it all, I'll partner with him. I've got distribution because I had at the time tens of thousands of customers and clients, and also tens and tens of thousands of subscribers. And we could just put it out, we'll make it available, we'll come up with a good offer. So we did. He flew into Phoenix. We met at the Hilton over by the airport in Phoenix, Arizona, and we sat down. He flew in the morning. And see, again, come back to ROI, return on implementation. We sat down and yeah, we talked about the idea. And after lunch, we started building the idea. And about 2.5 hours after lunch, we had built the idea. He had a lot of assets, we had a lot of assets, and we launched that afternoon and started making sales for this $47 a month newsletter. And he was excited because we got like 10 sales while we were sitting there that afternoon, making it happen, return on implementation. See, what's return on implementation worth? Don't just talk about it, go do something with it, right? I want you to walk out of this training today and I want you to take action with it. There'll be a couple of ways you can take action with it. With Joshua, we took action. And then he asked me a question, man, this is amazing. He goes, hey, is there something you need help with? Man, I love this. What do you need help with? Which is, by the way, this is a great question to ask people. What do you need help with? What's the one thing you need the most help with right now? Become a parrot of that question. Ask it over and over and over. I believe that if you ask that 1,000 times this month, you'd be amazed at how your business will grow exponentially just doing that. You'll have some people that'll fit for you. You'll have a bunch that won't, but if you become a conduit to help those people it doesn't fit for, to connect with people that they would be a fit for, you'll magically start to see how the byproduct of value creation comes back to you tenfold. Simply. So Joshua said to me, he said, hey, what do you need help with? I said, well, man, I've been beating my head against the wall. My wife, I've got a 2-year-old daughter, and I'm struggling. And the idea that I'm going to have to double my staff, double my expenses is not exciting. And we're just slightly over break even. If I put that kind of money out to hire a bunch of people, I just don't know that I'm going to make it, man. Straight up. And he said, well, let me take a look at it. Can you just get me everything? And so he flew home and he calls me back when he gets there and he goes, hey, I've got good news and I've got bad news, Dan. The bad news is, I have to start this from scratch. The good news is, would you be okay if I help you? I was like, well, yeah. And see, Josh did what a pro does. He interviewed me a few times. He interviewed a few of my staff a few times. He got our team to put together this template and interview our clients, and got all this info over the course of a few weeks together. And the whole project took about 60 days, not a magic button. It took 60 days of us grueling hard work at this, working together side by side. I had to let go of my ego, which is not easy for me to do. I didn't want to let up control, but we co-created, co-collaborated over the course of almost 60 days, and we launched this thing, and guess what happened? By working this way, the first day we launched, we had as many sales online as our entire manual team did that day. And I thought, and by the way, what do you think I did? Was I excited? On one end, I was excited, but my skeptical, oh, it's beginner's luck, also pent-up demand. Let's see how it goes tomorrow. Second day, we had as many sales as we did as our entire physical team. Third day, same thing. We started slowly turning up traffic on this thing, and it started growing and growing. Guess what happened? We grew to over 300 coaching clients. Now, if you're not in the coaching business, that may not mean it, but 300 coaching clients a week. We had exponential growth within a couple of months. It was amazing. And what it did to get me out of the business, out of the day-to-day, it got me out of, being so tied to the, activity mode and busyness mode, to allow me to free up the focus on the things that I loved to do and wanted to do, including have more time with my family instead of being married to my company 120 hours a week. Like, how would you feel about that? It set the stage beyond that we were able to build this business, and a few years later, fast forward, I was able to sell the business. It grew to about a $20 million a year business and was able to sell it. And then I sold a second business as a result of what we learned from this experience, all because my ego was not my amigo. And finally, I let go and hand it off to an expert, right? And as we look at this, what will building your campfire model do for you, right? It helps you build a list that you control. You build clients by adding value. You build an army of, oh, this is a little bit of mistake, of raving fans. It's fun, and it creates freedom. Right? Because it's relationship based, long-term based. So there's 3 steps for you to be able to take with this. Number 1, in the beginning, you want to give out a tool or a checklist in exchange for an email address. You've probably heard this before, but are you really putting the focus here? So really tune into this. And I'll give you an example of some case studies in a second. Give out a tool or checklist in exchange for an email address. This is a simple example of one of our pages. This page right here, right? We've got the image. Get your 100% free blueprint today. Where should I send it? Get the checklist now. Is that pretty simple? Whatever industry you're in, if you're an author, a speaker, an expert, if you're not in the coaching business, this works. Instead of looking at your business as the business you're in, look at yourself as a publishing business in the business you're in, and it kind of changes the game. This simple page right here, I'll share some numbers. I'll blow this up just a little bit. We're generating leads consistently about $4 per lead. Over the course of a couple of weeks, we were able to generate about 1,200 total leads, right? At less than $4. Now, it means nothing if you don't optimize it, monetize it, which I'll cover in a second. But would you be willing to invest $3 to $4 to develop a new relationship that's your perfect potential client, right? If you could control it like clockwork, predictably, sustainability, and create daily clients every day, right? Number 2, post video on social media and run it as a pay-per-view campaign. Here's why. When I came up in this business, Bernardo and I were talking about it at the beginning. And if you've ever run TV ads on TV, can you type yes in the chat window? If you haven't, I've invested millions of dollars over time running TV ads, infomercials, and other things. And many times when we would run these TV ads, whether it was short form or an infomercial, it was like throwing spaghetti on a wall. Like 95% of the people, probably more, are not even close to our perfect client. But do you know today's technology allows you to narrow to the age, the demographic, the psychographic, interest group, activities that they're a part of, books they read, groups they're a part of, that narrow your perfect potential client for pennies. Pennies. And I'll show you a couple examples of this in real life, how this actually is played through. We've got many videos that we put out there, but this is a sample image of the video we have out there, one of them, right? Want to know how to leverage major media? Watch this from the ESPN founder that has been a client of mine, and also I interviewed him on the show. Learn more, right? It's a pay-per-view campaign, and we ran several of these, so I don't want to show you one, but there's a handful. But literally, I did this test on purpose to see, could you do this for $1 a day? Right? Just to show people, because, if you're a business that's super, like starting today, you could do this for $1 a day, couldn't you? But you can also expand this to like 100 a day, 500 a day, 1,000 a day, right? But at $1 a day over the course of a few weeks that we ran this, or whatever the time frame was, we had over 240,000 of our perfect clients, not just any people like the old way of doing TV ads. Our perfect client, we had over 240,000 people view our videos for 1 to 3 cents each. We even have one in here that I'll highlight, this one here. See that number? That's under a half a cent per view. Where in the world can we go get our access to our perfect clients for as little as a half a cent? It's insane, or 3 cents even at a max, right? It's crazy. But here's the beauty. You build up this audience. So, Bernardo asked earlier, how do you stand out in a crowd? These two strategies are two easy, simple strategies that anybody can put in place, right? Run these pay-per-view ads to your ideal market. Next, run and host or partner and do educational-based events. Now, there's a few different ways to do that, but you're happening to experience one of these right now. It's pretty casual and low-key, wouldn't you agree? Right? Just providing and adding value, right? Providing and adding value. Run, host, partner, educational-based events. Like, for example, one webinar we run is this 3 steps to pivot and prosper in turbulent times, similar to this, to our market, right? And this is the example of the page. Pretty simple, right? It's just a simple headline. We ask people to register. They opt in. We generate leads of our perfect clients. Guess what? Of those 240,000 views, we take those people and we drive them to this. If they already like us and have trust, do you think it's easier that our conversion rate goes up? You can go like that. Yeah, probably, right? This is a way you do it. No, this is one of our private clients, because people go, oh, is this working today? Is this working now? This is just a couple weeks ago. One of our private clients, we helped them set up a webinar, and their market's a little bigger than most, right? They're also a thought leader, so to speak. And for their webinar, in what we helped put together, they had 5,500 people registered for the webinar. They had over 2,400 now, because you'll hear people, oh, not a lot of people are showing up to these things anymore. Or you'll hear people, oh my gosh, the show up rate's incredible. Right, that's pretty normal for when we work with clients. They had over 7,000 people watch the replay. They had over 85 people apply to want to be a part of their multi-$1,000 high value program. They had 46 people by the time we did this text, with just a few days after the webinar, that had already paid for the program. 85 plus 46, it gets pretty lucrative. That's a 6-figure plus a month kind of model, right? From hosting a webinar, wondering if this can work. How would these 3 models impact you? Like, if you put in the ability to have someone get a checklist, if you put in the ability to build these pay-per-view campaigns in your perfect market to your perfect audience, and you started doing educational-based events like webinars like this, how would it impact you? Go ahead and put some numbers. Again, I like to use the domino effect and actually put value, because I only like to focus on things that are going to bring value, either directly or indirectly, and is measurable, right? We can't cash hope. Wouldn't you agree? Right? See, if I wish in this hand and I spit in this one, which one fills up quicker? That one, right? And it's the same thing with putting a number value on an estimated number value. What do you think would be value to you or worth to you? What would that number be, right? How would it impact you? This case study. So, Bernardo mentioned Joe Polish. So I've known Joe for many years. He became a client in like 2002, I believe-ish. Bought one of my information publishing products back then. And then we stayed in contact for 6 years. And then he started Genius Network, and I became a member in his program called Genius Network. It's a high profile group. And then after I sold my businesses, he found out I had sold my businesses and available, and we ended up having a conversation about working together. And Joe and I sat next to his office at a restaurant, this Mexican restaurant, having lunch. And he was sharing with me, man, I really feel like I've hit a plateau. Plus, my business is all based on me, and I don't want it to be based on me. I want a system to bring me clients, and I want to have it so that I can be freed up. And I've got this other passion project that I want to focus on. Plus, I want to build this new community, this new group that I can serve and help solve some of their biggest problems. And long and the short of it, he hit this wall, right? Maybe you hit a wall. And, he was just kind of at wit's end. He tried everything, and he worked with several people. And of course, he's got no shortage of people he can work with. And we got started again. We came up with an agreement, again, primarily performance-based, right? Because that's where the high-end stuff can come in. So we got started, and we put some things in place. And within a period of time of us reworking his assets, leveraging what he had, we helped him triple his business. He went from 67 members in this high-profile community to over 220 with a model. A simple example of this, he had 39 candidates approximately the year before we came there. He had this annual event he hosted. He had 12 attendees besides his members. We put a system in place, like we'll talk. I'm going to share with you the 3 models, not only work for him, work for our clients and many others, and can work for you. We put these models in place. He went from 39 candidates a year manually, and mostly on his effort, that we were generating over 100 candidates a month for his business. Now, even with half of them not being qualified, 100 candidates a month versus 39 a year. What do you think happened to his business? His business went like this. His growth tripled and his profits grew by 15 times. It was amazing. And he got to focus on his big passion project, one of them being helping solve issues related to addiction and changing the conversation. Like, what is that worth to somebody? To have a model that gets put in place to free them up so that they can not only have a very profitable business, but also focus on something else they're really passionate about. And what would that be worth to you? Right? And if you don't know Joe, you don't know Dean, you don't know any of the people we're talking about, don't lose sight of the message through these experiences, but just keep asking yourself, does this work? Could it work for me? Can I do this? The answer is yes. And you might be asking, will this work for someone new? Hold that thought, because I've got a real recent example of that coming up. Action steps, right? Give out a checklist in exchange for an email address. Post short videos on social media and run them as a pay-per-view type ad. And you can put a series and look at it this way. Do you watch Netflix? Like, who isn't watching Netflix in the last 60 days with what's been going on, right? Or Prime or whatever the case might be. Do you notice that they don't really just create one episode? They create a series. Start thinking of your business not as the business you're in, but you're a publishing business now. See, if you parlay a publishing business on the side of whatever business you're in, it starts to change your viewpoint just a little bit, a lot, in fact. But in Netflix or Prime, they don't create one episode in a series, they create a series. So what could happen for you if you created a mini series of these short 1 to 5 minute videos? Now, you might have a tendency to go, well, I don't know what to talk about. Well, then interview somebody and then post it, which is part of what Bernardo's doing here, right? You can create content out of thin air in like 5-10 minute conversation. Next, run, host, and partner on educational-based events. Educational-based events. So my question is, are you committed to take those action steps, right? Are you committed to take those 3 simple action steps? And what would these 3 action steps be worth for you? If you got your checklist model in place, you got your pay-per-view campaigns put in place to only go for your perfect potential clients with these video ads, and you hosted regular educational events, what do you estimate the financial value, the financial impact? And more importantly, what's it going to cost you if you don't? Right, what's it going to cost you if you don't? What's getting in the way of you being able to do it? Is it the ROI, meaning return on implementation? You struggle with implement? We've got a solution. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Next, principle number 3. Now, by the way, I just want to do another quick check-in. Are you guys learning some good stuff? Are you ready for principle number 3 and the Q&A where we can customize some of this stuff for you? Awesome. So principle number 3, 3 models for maximum growth. We're going to build on each of these are layers on top of each other. Principle number 3 related to the building your perfect client system. So it combines the traffic triage, right? You get the perfect clients for a penny. You get perfect clients on your list easily and regularly and every day. You get perfect clients to buy from you. And what does it do? It shortens the sales cycle, right? You get perfect clients to buy more. You boost your long-term relationship value. You get referrals due to the experience you create and consistency you create by doing this. It's meaningful and memorable. Like, if that's what you want, then you'll love these models. But if that's not what you want, you're more in the transactional game. There are definitely other experts teaching and still teaching that old outdated nonsense. You build authority and you have a bigger impact with less stress at the end of the day, right? So case study and tying in with this model. So one of our private clients that we're working with currently, we built all 3 of these models for them as one of our private clients. And the first model that we built a landing page. It goes to a thank you page, right? The landing page is for the checklist that we just talked about for his niche. And then after they opt in, here's the key. We're inviting them to offers, right? So the key is you invite people to take advantage of offers. You do that through email, right? And other mechanisms, but they're real simple. So what did this particular client, when we built this model, in the last 12 months, because of the narrow niche they're in, they only generated about 6,000 new subscribers on their list through this method. 6,000. That's only 500 a month. Think about that. Do you think it's possible in your niche right now that you could generate 500 new potential subscribers with this checklist model that I just described to you? Their niche is really tight and narrow. And I'll explain a little more about it in a second. The second model we put in place was what we talked about, the video view campaign, right? We ran the video campaign specifically in Facebook to begin with. We're also now doing things with Google, YouTube, and others, but this started with Facebook, where we ran the short videos in a series of them, not just one. We built up to their audience, over 1 million views. Now you can do your own math, but 1 million views for a penny, let's call it a penny per view, doesn't really cost a lot when you spread that over a year, right? Might be less than $1,000 a month to get 1 million views in their perfect client in their perfect client funnel, in their perfect client categories, right? Their audiences. Number 3, we leverage the educational-based event model. And he's one of the best in the world at this particular model. And he loves doing these about once every 4 weeks, right? Maybe even once every 3 weeks on average. And so we started doing a series of the educational. And so everything is a mini series. The videos are a mini series. The checklist is a mini series. This model is a mini series done right, right? So we have a landing page where you saw an example of one a little bit earlier. Then they get invited to attend the event or webinar. And then you offer the training, and then you make an offer, right? And then some people say yes directly, some people say no. And then you follow up with them. So the long and the short of it, and the way he does his is he simply asks people, he says, hey, if you'd like to go deeper with our resources, let's schedule a call and see how we can help you. Pretty simple and laid back, right? He did a series of about 12 or 14 of those over the year. In total, he only had 7,000 new registrations for the whole year. Again, that's about 525 a month. Again, in your niche, do you think it's possible you could get to 525 a month, right? Using this method. Out of that registered, about 3,000 actually watched the webinar, right? A little bit less than half. Now, by the way, most experts will not share these real numbers. They'll make up these inflated, bogus numbers, which is a frustrating thing sitting where I sit. I don't know if it's frustrating for you, right? But if you've ever felt misled by these experts when you've run and tested these models, they didn't give you the real insights. Well, I think you'll love our approach of transparency here and just taking you and getting you under the hood of showing you what's really going on. Out of those numbers, we had 700 people that booked calls and said, yeah, I'd like to learn more about how you can help me and go deeper. Out of the 700 people that they talked to, you had about 400 people that showed up, because not everybody that books a strategy session shows up. You may know that from experience of testing this, but if you don't, you'll love the fact that we're telling you this now and not be completely deflated when it happens to you, because it will, right? But if you know it up front and have expectations, just kind of know, and then you work to make it better, measure and assess it, and that's what we help do. They generated about 175 clients in the year for their multi-$1,000 program, right? Now I'm going to use simple math. I'm just going to say it's a $2,000 program. It's a little higher, but it's about 2,000. So the business did 350,000. Now let me stop you here before you turn this off, because you might go, Dan, I've been on here for an hour and you're now telling me you've got such an amazing model that you helped the company generate 350 grand in a year. Like, I would go bankrupt if I do that. And I'm with you. That's where the next phase of the long-term relay, the campfire method. See, these first 3 things are part of this campfire. And now we get to the next part. LTRV, long-term relationship value. Those 175 clients are each worth about $65,000 in value to this client within 1 year. That client generated over $8 million in revenue through this model we're describing. Why? They offer a very high-end specific program that's a multi-year program for multi-thousand. It's actually a 100,000 plus program. So of those 175,000, they have over 50% of the people that enroll in that program and move forward and work with them for the next 3+ years. Over $8 million in new revenue. Like, what would $8 million do for you in additional revenue with this model, this campfire method? Checklist, video views, getting to your audience, and moving both of them to the education-based training. What would it do for you? How would it impact you? Would it create some extra level of freedom? When we sat down with the founder, he was like, we've shared with the other couple examples. We sat down with him. He's in this niche of service contractors, right? Change your world. Yeah, how would it change your world? Would it give you more time with your family? Would it give you a chance to be home for dinner, to be more present with your kids, right? Because of this model, because of what I was able to do with my businesses and selling them, you know, I'm able to, I coach football now. My son's 12. I get to coach him 4 days a week, right? We do practices 2 days a week. We do film study on a Friday night typically, and we have game days on Saturday. And we've been off now for the last 60 in case anybody's out there overly concerned. Oh, you're still, no, we took a break because of everything going on at the time you're seeing this, right? But I feel so blessed that I get to be available to my kids, to my wife, to my family, and also be available to our clients and build it on my terms and not feel like it's the tail wagging the dog and feeling, you know, in my early years when I was working 100+ hours a week, overly stressed. I gave my first wife leftovers, which is why I'm saying first wife. I didn't want to be that dad to my kids. I set the stage. I was blessed to sell. And I know I'm blessed and have been blessed, right? This model works. It can work for you, right? Now, speaking of the elephant in the room, you might be more new. You might not be running an $8 million a year business right now. You might not even want to build a business that big, right? That client is actually on track to actually do close to 30 million with what we're doing with them, which is pretty exciting to see. I want to introduce you to Bruce here. So Bruce, I got introduced to Bruce about 7 weeks ago now. And Bruce came in and he's an artist. You can probably see a picture behind him. He is an artist. And I don't know what you think about artists, but if you talk to most artists, you'll find that most are struggling financially. Now, Bruce has had some level, he's had his art commission, he's been able to do things with toys. However, when we got a chance to talk about 7 weeks ago, I said, you know, like, what do you really, he said, I really want to teach and I want to train. I want to have this like training coaching program. And I said, that's amazing. And the thing with Bruce is when we met, I remember like he was talking about like all this gobbledygook. If you don't know that word, like what was he caught up in? Tech overwhelm, burnout, frustration. He was at a place where he was mired in like, I'm going to try this technology with this thing and try to connect this thing because he had been on like a dozen webinars and he started training programs, like these mini programs, and he was just confused as hell. How about that? And I said, Bruce, time out, man. Is it okay if I coach you for a second? He said, Dan, heck yeah. Heck yeah. I said, man, what if we could just simplify a model for you? What if we could just simplify it? In fact, I don't want you to worry about any tech stuff at all. And we're going to bypass what all the traditional experts say. And here's what we're going to do. It's all about ROI, return on implementation. Don't let automation, don't let technology get in the way of you making money. See, if you've ever felt like automation and technology is not actually making you money, but getting in the way, type yes in the chat window. I just want to know if you feel this pain too. Because a lot of the people we end up working with feel this way. Even some of the most sophisticated, smartest thought leaders in the world. Don't let technology and automation get in the way of you making money and growing your business. Long and the short of it, Bruce said, yeah, I'm open to this. And we said, well, let's just drive it straight to a Zoom platform. And we helped create some copy for the webinar, the training. That's what he wanted to do. We used this model. And I said, Bruce, how many people do you have on your list? See, you might be saying, well, I've got a small following, a small list. It doesn't matter. Bruce had 400 between all of his things, social media and his internal list. He put this thing together. He started inviting him. He was a little nervous. He was a little scared. This was very non-traditional compared to what the other experts were teaching him, but he was willing to try it. He did his first educational event, very first one he had ever done this way. And he went way too long. He went 3.5 hours and he didn't even get to his enrollment opportunity till he was about 3 hours in, which is not like what you want to do because a lot of people will go away. And so what ended up happening with Bruce? He enrolled about 3 or 4 of that very first call and see that first training. And this is where most people would stop. They do one training. And then what would happen is they would do another one in another 2 months or 3 months being new or another 6 months. And he would have missed out on what we talk about. Treat it like a mini series. Because I asked Bruce, what do you like to, he goes, I love teaching. I said, well, then let's do that. Let's not worry about selling. Let's in fact stay away from selling and do your content and just make an invitation. If people vibe with you, they vibe with you and then move forward. But let's move it to about 45 minutes to an hour in your presentation and not 3 hours in. He goes, okay, I'll do that. I'll follow what you're sharing. And we reframed his offer a little bit and he shared his offer the second week. So the very next Thursday. So this is, by the way, 4 weeks ago. Real recent, because you might go, will this work in times of crisis? It's working like as we speak. The following week, he did it, reframed it. 19 new people in his coaching and training program. And he got so excited. I don't know, how would that change your world if you had 23 new coaching clients, if you're in a coaching business, or your coaching training business in less than 3 weeks of working together? But guess what? He didn't stop there. He did it the next Thursday, and guess what he had? He had another 19 new clients enrolled. Mini series, consistency over and over. But what do most experts do? A webinar and then do another one in another 6 months, 3 months, 2 months. No, it was consistent. He just repeated. He loved teaching. He wanted to provide value, add value. We've been talking a lot about this. Long and the short of it, he sent this email in less than 28 days, right? He had over 200 people on our last Thursday webinar. He's up to 39 clients with his training and coaching program, all in less than 28 days of getting started, being brand new to my world and our world. How would that change your world? So even if you're brand new, 39 new coaching and training clients, right? 39. How would that transform your world? To see his joy of expression, that he's got a real business. It's a 6-figure plus business, maybe grow 6-figure a quarter, may grow 6 figures a month with the momentum he's building and how focused he is on this now. Doing something he loves, something he's passionate about. It's a gift to be able to help serve people like Bruce and like you. So action steps from this segment. What can you do today to build your perfect client system? Build a list that you own. Build authority by adding value. Build a steady flow of clients and keep it simple. Can you do that, by the way? Can you do these? If you can do these things, can you type yes in the chat window? Can you type yes? I just want to see who's still with us. Eric, Charles, awesome. Thank you. Right. And if anybody else wants to chime in, and all of this, like if you add up all 3 of these segments, like what's the value to you? Right. I think it was Eric who said it'd be life-changing, right? Because at the end of the day, if you do take action with this is more of what it can be like. If you don't take action, inaction causes this. You know, idealitis causes this, doesn't it? We don't want that. I don't want that for you, right? Now, what I'd love to do is just ask you a question, right? You know, if I had a way for you to go deeper with us from what you learned, would you be interested, right? If you'd be interested in knowing how to go deeper with us, can you type yes for me? I'd like to get your permission, right? And if you haven't gotten value, well then, hey, I wish you the very best of luck, right? And again, you might have a lot of questions. Thank you guys, Eric, Charles. You might have questions. Again, I want you to write them down and we're going to get to them in Q&A here in a little bit, right? So do you mind if I just spend a couple minutes to show you what we put together here for the community, right? And what we call our perfect client system, right? It's really pretty simple what we put together. I think you're going to love it. Not only will you get your hands on the marketing plan blueprint, but you're going to get your hands on a whole lot more. So we put together the perfect client blueprint for you. And here's the deal. I don't want to give you another program or a course. You probably need a new program or a course like you need a new idea, like a hole in your head at the end of the day, right? See, why we created this is, you know, if you're confused or overwhelmed or feel like you're on info overload or you're lacking a lot of implementation, right? Instead, what this program gives you is an implementation blueprint. It gives you tools, checklists, and step-by-step guides, the same type of checklists and guides that I use to build and sell companies and work with clients to help them build and either sell a company or exit from the day-to-day of companies. Would you want those, right? These are the exact type of blueprints that we've used to grow my business and sell them, right? Then on top of that, we're going to hold you by the hand, right? Because it is customized, it is personal. So we're going to work side by side with you through this process, right? And at the end of the day, if you can copy, modify, and paste, then this is a solution for you, right? If you can copy, modify, and paste, this will be a solution. It'll also be your solution whether you're brand new in a business for a couple of years, right? Or you're crushing it right now and you just want to get to that next level, whatever that might be for you. You get our very best templates and our scripts that literally produce millions of dollars for us and our clients. You get our client infusion blueprint to get new clients in 5 days or less, right? This isn't about like needing to take a year. Like Bruce, You get our stuff and you can put it in place now. Because when is now the best time to make money? When is now the best time to take action? You get our video sales solution, how to get perfect clients for pennies, right? We give you our perfect campaign, how to enroll high value clients for premium type products and services. Would you want something like that? And if you would want something like that, what would be the value to you? And if you don't want any of these things, it's okay too, right? It's all right too. But if you do, then you might appreciate some of it. You get our perfect invitation model, very different than sales model. It's the invitation model, a model that gets you clients quickly and easily and in a non-salesy, non-hypey way, right? You get these 4 blueprints, you get the templates, you get the scripts, you get them all for free when you get started today with our program, right? For example, Dr. Christy Lopez, she's a celebrity expert. She's been on Dr. Phil. She's been on Downsized and a whole lot more. She's an amazing coach. I've had her coach me for years, right? We helped her work to get connected to a group so that she built a program, right? And she went and followed the education-based event model. And in less than 90 minutes, she generated 10 sales on a product or program that's between $690 and $1,000. She's now repeating this over and over. She's got a lot of PR as a result of some of the simple tools that we've given her, and her practice has grown immensely out of just a one-on-one model. She wanted a one-to-many. You know, Philip Mutry here. Philip got started with us. Maybe like you, he had tried all kinds of crazy stuff. He had tried about 6 or 7 different programs. And after about, I forget the exact time frame, but I think he had, worked like 9 months and he had earned like $9, right? Might be a little more, might be just a little less in time. But the dollars I remember, less than $9 after months and months of hard work, frustration, beating his head against the wall. He got started with us, and within 4 months, he was in excess of $15,000 a month, right? And has since grown that into a multi-million-dollar media business and has now gotten a chance to do all kinds of cool things like pursue his project. So what do you get with this? Now, by the way, when I share any example today, I want to use a disclaimer here. I'm not promising you're going to do any of these things, because I don't know you. I don't know your work. I don't know what you'll do with what you get with this information. But if you can copy and paste, do you think you could do it? You could copy and modify and put it in place in your industry. Do you think you could do it? Like maybe they've done it. Now, I'll say that it won't work for you. And at the end of the day, you know this. If you do nothing, you'll get nothing too, right? So what you get, let me walk you through this. You get our client infusion blueprint. It helps you get clients in 5 days or less. You get our video sales solution. You get perfect clients for pennies, right? You get the perfect campaign to enroll high value clients in your premium. I mean, what's one high value client worth to you, right? I think we're actually doing a disservice by having this valued at $4,995, right? Because there's so much more that can come from this. The perfect invitation model to get new clients. Again, what's one new client worth? So $4,900 when you could get one new premium client a week from any one of these 4 models, right? And in fact, we hope that you use all 4 models. I would expect you would use all 4. Next, we're going to work side by side. We're not leaving this to chance. We work side by side in a 1-day personal virtual event to help you implement and make sure you implement. Why? Think about it. How good are we all at doing it alone, right? Right? How much success are you going to get out of reading a book or just watching a course versus having someone stand over you and guide you and mentor you and coach you side by side, helping you implement, helping you avoid the roadblocks, helping you avoid the mines in the minefield, right? You get direct coaching and feedback. We go through Q&A, just like we're going to do a version of Q&A here in a few minutes. You can stay stuck versus have rapid action. And you get accountability where we hold your feet to the fire, right? Because it's my belief, I believe first learned this from Mark Victor Hansen. He says, together everyone achieves more miracles. Together everyone achieves more miracles, right? So you get ultimate clarity, confidence, direction, rapid action, and momentum as a result. The 1-day side by side, the value is priceless. When I work with private clients for a day, it's $10,000 as our fee, right? Now, I'm breaking that up, just truth be told, and I'll share with you why we're structuring it the way we have. And this is a program that's new to the market as a result of the relationship with Bernardo and Gail, right? But it's not even going to be a fraction of that. And you'll find out that here in just a second, right? So you get the client infusion blueprint, get clients in 5 days or less. You get the video sales solution, get perfect clients for pennies, get the perfect client to enroll high value premium in your premium services. You get the the perfect invitation model to get clients quickly and easily. Well, what's the next thing you might need, right? You need reinforcement, don't you? Right? Aren't you tired of these programs that just hand it off and expect you to go figure it out? You get reinforcement. Why? This helps you avoid falling backwards, avoid mistakes, avoid the gaps, stop guessing, and stop the bottlenecks, right? So it's an on-demand program to help you accelerate your learning for you and your team, if you choose that, right? It gives you the recipe method. What is the recipe method? Like, do you want to sit on a training session for 2.5 to 3 hours and then have to go rewind it 1,000 times? Or do you want to have delivery of valuable recipes that are like 15 to 20 minute chunks, maybe even less, that not only have the recipe, but also have the supplemental tool, the supplemental listing of tools, the actual highlights of that particular thing. So you, in other words, get the Cliff Notes version combined with the actual training, right? You get instant access with this when you get started with us. So each of the main modules is delivered in bite-sized chunks. Why? I built it for me. Not 1 to 2 hours to find something, but 10 to 25 minutes so you can get it in usable bite-sized chunk. 100% of these modules are supported with tools and templates and scripts to be able to model from and build. You get the PDF slides, you get the audio if you're more of an audio person versus video, maybe like me. You get the supporting tools, templates, and checklists to go with it. How would that impact your learning curve, right? Why did I do it? I built it for someone like me. I'm very quick oriented, very visionary, high level. I like things fast and I like to run hard and fast, right? It gives you the ability to focus on your market. It gives you the marketing plan blueprint. You get to tune in your message. You get to tune up your business model. We covered the 3 models, but there's a couple others. When you add them together, it's like putting gasoline on a fire. You improve your conversions. You increase your ability to enroll and sell. You get how to get started with paid traffic, how to stand out with your unique method, how to maximize and optimize your client experience, and a whole lot more. This is just some of what you're going to get in the program, all in a recipe style, right? Again, how would all this impact you? So what do you get? You get the perfect client system modules, the PDFs, the slides, the tools, and scripts. You get the 1-day intensive side by side. You get the client infusion blueprint, the video sales solution, the perfect client campaign. You get the perfect invitation model, all geared to give you ROI implementation. Is speed and support helpful, right? Had Bruce worked with someone else, which he has, he would still be struggling and stuck on 3 to 4 clients his first week. And the next thing he would be doing would be probably another month from now. We collapsed time frames, and what has happened? He got 39 people in his training coaching program in less than 28 days, right? Because of speed, because of support, working side by side. If that's what you want, we've got that for you because we focus on ROI, return on implementation. The next thing you need is ongoing support, inspiration, and encouragement, right? Do you want to be left alone after the 1-day event, after going through the training? No, right? So why? There's nothing worse than going at things alone, right? So I built this for me too. So we built the place, you know, the place where everybody calls your name, right? The place where everybody knows your name. We've got that, a place with energy chargers where people are encouraging, where there's daily interaction, collaboration. You get the ability to contribute. It's not about one way. It's about you contributing to help other people too. And you get to have great connections and create deal-making opportunities. We call this the Founders Alliance. It's built by founders for founders, CEOs, coaches, entrepreneurs, consultants, service owners, and more at the highest level. So you get access to the Founders Alliance when you get started. The value of that's priceless. You get the perfect client system. You get to attend the 1-day intensive that's virtual, right? You get the client infusion blueprint, the video sales solution, the perfect campaign, the perfect invitation model. And bottom line is, if you just got 1 client a week with these extra, would it be worth it? Now you might go, well, I don't know, Dan, you haven't told me what the cost is, right? And I'll get to that in a second. If you had a script that you and your team could read and it boosted your enrollments to get 1 extra client per week, would it be worth it? Think about that. You're going to get dozens of these scripts and templates that you can literally just plug and play and go, which is why we see so many people get the results, including some of these big thought leaders we work with, because they take our tools, right? Now, you're probably asking, hey, Dan, like, how much does this thing cost? Will you just tell me already? Well, it's not going to cost you anything if you don't use it and don't apply any of it. That's the first thing you should know, right? It's not a get-rich-quick program. My original price when I originally was going to put this together was going to be $5,000. I was going to go into a professional studio, all to the nines, right, at one of our local places. And my friend said, and I was going to wait till after this health situation kind of fanned out. And some of my best friends, my peers, my coaches, Dan, no, now is this, the world needs what you have now. There's a lot of people suffering. There's a lot of people struggling like your dad years ago that you can help save their business right now. Business owners are going to need it for this new normal. And we have a responsibility. And so I took my mentors and my peers' advice. And by the way, at $5,000, I still think it'd be a great value. And I still might go put it together, redo it in a professional studio the way we've done it. You know, like one of our private clients, Dr. Scott Gray, works in regenerative medicine and alternative health therapies. We gave him one of our campaigns, literally one of the templates that you're going to get. And he went out there and generated 95,000. He said, man, this is worth millions because I can run this over and over almost every single month with a little twist, a little nuance, right? So you can get started today for as little as $95. I didn't want to leave anybody behind, right? There's a couple installments that go with it, right? But it's as little as $95. And if you want to get started today and get your hands so you can get the perfect client blueprint, be a part of the one-day intensive coming up, go to perfectclientblueprint.com right now, fill out your form, register. Seats are limited. I don't do big, massive events. I keep it small and intimate because, again, this is customized, right? We'll probably have less than 25 people that will be a part of this. Why? I want to serve you at the highest level. And if there's 1,000 people on it, I mean, yeah, can we have an impact? But not to the degree we can if it's an intimate group. So if you want to be a part of that, you want to get access to all this, go to perfectclientblueprint.com right now. You can open up a browser, stay on, because I want to serve you and give you access to this Q&A, answer also a couple of questions that were emailed ahead of time as well. So perfectclientblueprint.com. Again, you're going to get the client infusion blueprint, the video sales solution, the perfect campaign, the perfect invitation model, the Founders Alliance, the perfect client system modules, the one-day intensive. Oh, you might say, when is the intensive? We've decided to do multiple intensives through the next 6 to 12 months. The next one happens to be July 24th. Gives you plenty of time. If you got something on your books, cancel it, reschedule it. July 24th, it's an all-day event. Oh, don't be shocked if I do a bonus and add a day. But it's guaranteed to be one day on July 24th. We'll start at 8 a.m. We'll go till 5 p.m. 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You get the full day. We're going to walk through each of these steps to help you build your perfect client. Oh, you might ask, well, Dan, if you're so confident in this, do you offer any kind of guarantee? The answer is yes. And the reason I offer this $100,000 promise, that's a pretty bold promise, isn't it? Now, I make this bold promise because I shared the story of Carl a little bit earlier at an event after my first business put me on the verge of bankruptcy. And Carl, and what I didn't share with you is Carl at the end of that situation, when he said, if you can't afford it, you can't afford not to. One of the things that gave me the confidence and the certainty to say, I'll just try. And that's all I'm asking you to do, just try. And the reason being is because we eliminate the risk. You eliminate the risk, we boost your bottom line, and we help you grow with less stress. That's what we do at the end of the day. And when I attended that event for that business opportunity all the way back in 1994, after that other business, the first business didn't work, Carl looked at me square in the eye. He said, Dan, if this were free, would you do it? I said, hell yes, I'd do this. He said, well, Dan, if I personally guaranteed you that if you attend the training for this program, that if you don't feel in your own heart of hearts that it's worth $100,000 in value once you go through it, that he goes, I'll personally give you all your money back. Would you find a way to get here? And what do you think I said to him? Well, I said yes. I was scared. I was nervous, but I figured, what's the worst that could happen? And I figured, man, what if this worked? What if I could actually not just go through a training, but I could actually get 100,000 in value from this to go parlay that and build it. And I took money from my car, which had gotten behind. Like I shared, I was on the verge of bankruptcy. My parents had sent me money for a car payment, and I ended up going to this training instead. And it was the next catalyst to my bigger future. And so why I put this promise together is the same reason Carl did with me. If you attend this training, you attend the intensive, you go through all of our tools, all of our program, and you don't feel after the one-day intensive, along with all the stuff you're going to get in the membership platform and otherwise, that this was worth at least $100,000 in value to you, I'll personally guarantee it. And I ask you, what's the worst that could happen? On the other hand, what's the best that could happen? Seems pretty obvious. I encourage you All I'm asking for you is to try it, test it, put it to work for you. If it doesn't work, you don't feel it was worth 100,000, it would either make you or save you 100,000 in value in your future for your business. I don't deserve you as a client. And there's nobody I know of in our industry that's willing to make this kind of a promise and guarantee for a virtual event. You just met them. I don't know when you're going to meet them again. Maybe they'll model and start copying what I've done. I've been pretty well known to have people do that with our stuff. But here's the deal. You got nothing to lose and everything to gain. We've eliminated all the risk. And if you want to move forward and get started, it's really simple. Go to perfectclientblueprint.com. That's perfectclientblueprint.com. Reserve your seat, get started. We'll get you all the dates, all the information. We'll talk to you about how we're going to get you access over the next couple of weeks to your customized membership platform with all these tools and all the training that'll be there so you can be ripe and ready for the July 24th live event overall. And we'll start getting you access to the information. I don't want you to wait till July 24th to start making money. When would be now the best time for you to start making money? Now, right? We want to help get these tools in your hand. If you'd like that opportunity, go to perfectclientblueprint.com. And as we wrap this up, there's three types of people. The first type of person says, this is awesome, but it's not for me. I was looking for something different. And if that's the case, I encourage you, go find somebody else who can serve you, right? Whether it's the community that Bernardo set up, whether it's another community, another mentor, another coach, another platform, find somebody, because there's nothing greater than having an expert you can work with, that you bond and connect with, that can help save you time and money. So the second type of person says, this is amazing, but I've got questions. And we're going to open that up to Q&A here in just a few minutes. And I'd love to make sure to answer your questions to serve you best I can. And the best way to get your questions answered too is just try this. Because again, what is the worst that can happen? You can do that. Open up a new browser right now. Go to perfectclientblueprint.com. Third type of person says, Dan, an hour ago, I'm ready. I'm ready now. Just help me move forward. I want to be like some of your clients. I want to be like Bruce. I want to be one of your next success stories. And you probably already registered. But if you're the third person just waiting for someone to say, go to perfectclientblueprint.com right now. And it's real simple. Register. You'll receive the confirmation email. You get some other details. We'll likely be on a call here in the next few days, likely with me personally, because I promised Bernardo I wanted to serve all of you. Another bonus I'm giving all of you, if you get started today, you're going to get a strategy session for 1 hour one-on-one with me. Now, you may not know me well enough yet to understand the value, but I charge $1,500 an hour or $10,000 a day for private clients. I want to give you an hour to focus on you, your business, before you attend the live event. No hooks. I'm not going to wait till July to do that. I want to help get you results immediately. When is now the best time to get your results? If it's now, I'd like to help that be now. So go to perfectclientblueprint.com and get started as little as $95. Oh, some people like a VIP experience. Like when I take my kids to Disney, I love getting a VIP experience. So we've got a VIP option as well. If you like, more bells and whistles, more front of the lines type stuff, you like some other of the bonus, you'll see them listed on the page when you go to perfectclientblueprint.com. If that VIP option serves you, great. If you're like me, like the only thing I really like to do these days is the VIP experience. But you start somewhere. Either get started with the initial program as little as $95, or you can get started with the VIP experience. Either way, right? Go to perfectclientblueprint.com to be able to do that. And as we wrap this up, before I open it up to Q&A here, going back to this idea of my ego is not my amigo, right? My ego is not my amigo. And, I remember here real recent, like during, the last 60 plus days, like all of us, we've kind of been confined, and I had my toilet. This isn't like the most sexy story, but bear with me. Maybe you can relate to this. In the last 60 days, I had a situation where my toilet kind of, was having issues, right? And so, being like the husband that I attempt to be for my wife, like to be her hero and show up a certain way to get stuff done. What I did is, I ran to Ace Hardware over here and, protected myself, and I got like a handle because I thought that was the thing. And I came back and I put the handle on, and the thing still wasn't working. And I was like, damn. So I went back to Ace Hardware and I got what I thought was going to be the next piece, which is gasket. And I put the gasket in. And that didn't. So what did I end up doing? I ran back to Ace Hardware and I got another piece, which was this rod that connects to the handle that attaches to the gasket that also has the thing that kind of flushes down. And so I got that piece and I connected it, and guess what? It still didn't work. Now, by this time, I probably spent 3.5, 4 hours between doing it and driving and coming back in 4 hours and whatever it costs to get all these pieces, right? And I don't know if you can relate to this, but I finally got to a point, again, my ego is not my amigo. And I went to my wife and I'm like, I didn't fix this thing. So we call up the plumber. And so the plumber comes, right? Because of like one of the service plans we have, they come here pretty quickly. And so he came here the next day. He walks in the house, and I kid you not, he was here less than 10 minutes. And he did whatever he did. And I stopped him as he was leaving. He had 10 minutes and he gave us the bill. I go, wow, that was pretty easy. He goes, yeah, you had everything kind of right. He said, but this rod you got was just too long. It was just too long. You needed the shorter one. Now, I share that with you because, like, how much time would I have saved if I had just called the expert right up front? How much frustration would I have saved? How much, like, what's your time worth, right? How much time value would I have saved in the tens of thousands of dollars, so to speak, in 4+ hours, right? So I encourage you, if it makes sense for me to have hired an expert, maybe now is the time for you to get the expert help that you need to help you build and implement, to create and grow, get more new clients, to implement and grow with less stress. And you can take that step by going right now to perfectclientblueprint.com. I'd like to invite you to move forward and we can work together. So Bernardo, if we have the ability, I'd love to open this up to Q&A. I know there's a couple questions we typically get when we do an event like this, but if you want to type your question in the chat window, I'd love to say hi. And by the way, have you got some great value today? Can you type yes in the chat window if you've got some great value, and type your question? Ideally, you've been writing questions if we've gone along, but type your questions in the window. And I do have a couple that we typically get. Eric, Charles, thank you. Awesome. Do you guys have any questions that I can help serve you? I'm just going to cover a couple. If you want to type your question while I cover a couple that are pretty common. People go, well, will this work in my market? Right? So here's the deal. I don't know, because I don't know what market everybody's in. But here's what I do know. Having been doing this for close to 30 years, we've worked with clients in over 180 niche industries in over 11 countries, right? If it's rare that we would meet someone, I haven't met anybody we couldn't help serve. Like we helped an artist. I work with doctors. I work with alternative health people. We work with thought leaders. I work with service contractor, plumbers, electricians, HVAC people, brick and mortar, accountants, financial experts, financial advisors, and a whole lot more, like we shared a little bit earlier. So I haven't met anybody that it wouldn't work for. And, if you feel that way, what I would suggest is just try it, right? Take the first step. You can start for as little as $95, test the waters. If you don't feel it served you and gave you the ability to grow by 100,000 or save you 100,000 in business over the next, from our time together, then I'll give you your money back, right? And I'll even say you can keep all the tools, right? It's better than a money back guarantee. It's better than $100,000 money back guarantee. So get started there. I don't see any questions popping there. Here's another one that's pretty common, right? I'm never going to make $1 million is something common that we hear. Like some of these clients you were talking about, more like Bruce, right? You're probably right? Straight up, you're probably right. Most don't. Most businesses don't do $1 million a year, right? Most are much, much smaller than that, right? And in fact, for me, when I first started in business, I didn't think I was going to do $1 million a year. In fact, that first business, we did $1 million in a few months.
Sergio, ¿qué tal? Oye, mira, por favor, respóndeme esto, anda, lo de las pasarelas de pago, tío. Estamos cobrando 2 miserias y se lo está quedando todo Stripe. Hoy se ha vuelto a coger $360 y $360 es como, bueno, ni te cuento. Entonces, por favor, echame una mano a integrar PayPal, a utilizar Infusionsoft. Recomiéndame las pasarelas estas de pago. No sé, Shopify
Bernardo,
también. En fin, echame una mano para que busquemos una solución a esto. Y mírame también, por favor, lo de Axel Events, anda, que te lo he mandado. Y ya te digo, me gustaría tenerlo ahí para que la semana que viene podamos empezar a vender, ¿vale? Venga, gracias, hombre. Chao.
Bernardo, you're not on mute. All right, so Eric, I'll come to that real quick. So I didn't think I was going to make $1 million. And here's a real critical thing, right? And I hope you appreciate the transparency of what I'm going to say about this. So although my first business, we did over 7 figures in a few months. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. I was a terrible business operator, a business owner, an entrepreneur in my first business. I was good at getting clients, and I like to think we've expanded the ability to get clients, but better at now building and growing and helping companies scale with less stress, right? So you probably won't do $1 million. And here's another thing. Brendan Burchard has a great quote. He says, don't let your small business keep you small-minded. Like, maybe you won't, but what if you could? Right? What would have to happen for you to build $1 million business? Now, you might say, I don't want to work that hard. That's okay. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. I know lots of $1 million business, their margins are razor paper thin. Don't you? Think about that. Don't you? See, if you don't want to play in a razor margin game, just change the game. You can get in a Yugo or you can get in a Ferrari. Depends on what serves you. Don't get caught up in comparing to other businesses. I know some great people we love, people we've served, people we help that are running a couple $100,000 a year business, but their net's like 50% or more sometimes, right? You can do that too. So don't get caught up in like necessarily the size. It's what you keep at the end of the day. We're going to show you how to build a profitable business, a high growth, high profit business. Again, it's about getting new clients daily, implementing more of the dominoes, those gold coins are in place, the not to-do list versus the to-do list, and we're going to help you grow with less stress. If that's what you want, and that's what you're looking for, regardless of size, you just want it to be more profitable, go to perfectclientblueprint.com. That's perfectclientblueprint.com. So Eric, let me address your question. NFL sports agent, right? How do I keep clients engaged and offer new services while the league's on hold, right? Here's how you can do that, real simple. Look at yourself as not just a sports agent, Eric. Look at yourself like a publisher. You're in the publishing business. Now, in the publishing, let me shift the business model just a little bit, right? In the publishing business, one of the publishing businesses is the movie business. In the movie business, right, we all have the ability to choose where we're at in the food chain. Like you can be an actor in the business, right? Which is day to day, hand to mouth, you're doing a lot of the work, but you can make great income, right? As an actor. Or you can be a director. A director is a little bit more high profile, doing more, right? But you're not necessarily having to be an actor if you're a director. Or you can be a producer, a little bit higher level, right? You produce a movie, you could produce a few movies, right? A little bit higher level yet. Or you could be like the movie studio, right? So like Eric is, without knowing your business, but when I hear a sports agent, first of all, I love this. I'm a huge sports nut. My son is, he's undersized, so he's probably going to end up at like an NAIA school, something like that, truthfully. But he plays quarterback. He's 12-year-old, working really, really hard to build his talent. But looking at your business, what would have to happen for you to parlay and become an education-based business, a publisher, so to speak, right? Some of the best sports agents in the world, the names are escaping me right now, but a couple of their books I've actually read. I forget the guy who's called the Super Agent, one of the top in the world, right? I got a chance to meet him at a Super Bowl party here when the Super Bowl was here in Phoenix, due to a friend of mine getting us connected. And he hosted this big giant Super Bowl party. He was making his comeback, right? Lee Steinberg, exactly. That's exactly who it is. But he publishes a lot of different education-based stuff like books. Now, you don't have to get traditional publishing behind you. You can do this self-publishing. You could create books. You can create these mini checklists for your athletes, right? You can create different tools to make, help educate them, to help provide, inspiration, education, and entertainment. As a sports agent, you probably have access to other athletes. Couldn't you host? Like, what if you brought some of the top NFL athletes who have built side business, their side hustle outside of football? There's a lot of athletes like this, right? That's probably one of your roles as an agent. Well, what if you brought together like 12 NFL players telling their stories to educate other NFL players how to better, protect themselves, how they can pivot and protect themselves in light of this? You become the conduit as an expert at being a protector as well as helping them get paid, if that makes sense. So those are, and again, if you get started at perfectclientblueprint.com and you decide to move forward, I'd love to have the one-on-one conversation with you to talk about your business, because this is the type of business that excites me. Like one of the people I've gotten a chance to meet, because my son is pursuing playing quarterback, is a guy named Dub Maddox. Now, Dub Maddox may mean nothing to you because he's mostly serving high school and college teams now, but he's apparently like the top offensive coordinator trainer in the country for high school and smaller colleges, because he has this system where he teaches quarterbacks and their coaches how to do pre-snap read and so on. Now, again, you're a sports agent, but working with his business, Dub, what he's done is he's outgrown his role as a football coach, although he's a great one, and he still is coaching. He loves it. He's passionate about it. He's an offensive coordinator at a big school in Oklahoma, one of the top high school teams in Oklahoma. But he built a publishing business on the side. You can go check out his books about his R4 system, but then he's created courses, and he also has camps, he has clinics. So he's built his publishing business on the side of his coaching business. So I hope that, you know, gives you a few ways. Again, if you ideally, if you got value from that, just share it with me, right? So perfectclientblueprint.com, you can get started there. Ideally, when you do, I'll schedule a conversation one-on-one. We'll talk about your business, Eric, and we can go deeper on this. I'd love to talk to you more. Hopefully that helps you already. Bernardo, I'm getting it. You're welcome. Bernardo, I'm getting your message. It looks like we don't have any other questions.
Well, no, I just wanted to point out that, you know, for those that are here now still, and those that, you know, are going to be watching the recording, is that I always measure, you know, the congruency of someone as far as their professionalism in the level of and you know, kind of since the first time we met, Dan, you're obviously not only extremely knowledgeable, but also very committed. And I also always kind of point out that when you're going to work with someone, ideally you need to be modeling and learning from their delivery and their style of delivery and how naturally they flow and how well they do things. And obviously you come across as what you are, which is a true pro. I mean, you know, and I want to basically mention that because, you know, kind of you definitely have done a fantastic job. Well done. Thank you for presenting everything you presented. So many great ideas, so much value, and the value of what you're offering. So I just simply wanted to point out that thank you, well done, and congratulations.
Thank you. It's been awesome. And you know, at the end of the day, you know, if we can touch one new person and help them transform their business, right? This happens one person at a time, right?
Well, I hope each and every one of you have learned something here today. Not only that, you take advantage of the amazing offer, which is absolutely no-brainer to work with Dan. And also, as I said, I mean, my experience with him has been over delivering and the examples here. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys. Take care. Anything else you want to add, Dan?
I'll leave with one last thing. And it's, you know, it's this, you know, my daughter, we went to Disney this past year and, you know, in one of these VIP experiences, and she was sitting there on like contemplating going on this big giant roller coaster, and she was going to sit it out. Like, she's like, oh, I don't know. I'm scared. I'm nervous. I'm not sure. And all I said to her is I said, Kira, can you have like 30 seconds of courage? And she had never heard me describe it that way before. And then my wife, T, said, yeah, come on, Kira. All you need is 30 seconds. I'll hold your hand through the whole thing. You'll be fine. You see, there's other people on the other side getting off this coaster. And why don't you just try it? Why don't you just try it, Kira? And long and the short, she got in line. It was, you know, not a long line with the VIP thing, but we came through. But you could see her uncertainty. You could see she was a little pasty white. She was a little nervous. She was, you know, scared a little bit. She ultimately got on that ride, and we went through this, you know, amazing thing. And we got off the ride and came off and asked Kira, like, how did you enjoy this? What do you think she said? So, oh my God, this is amazing. And all she wanted to do all day long was go on this roller coaster over and over and over again, you know, which we must have went on at 10. I didn't necessarily go on it every time with her and my son Kyler, but they must have went on it 10 times that day. So whatever you do in life, whether it's with us, whether it's Bernardo, whatever you're pursuing, realize it only takes about 30 seconds of courage. Right? It works for her at the time she was 14 years old. It could probably work for you and me too. So there you have it. Enjoy your day. Look forward to working with you, serving you. Be awesome.
Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you for watching. Thank you. Take care. All the best. Thanks, Dan. Take care.